So welcome back my dear students. So today's lecture we are going to see the design of a doubly reinforced section. Suppose you are having a section where your mu is greater than mu limit. You are having a section where mu is greater than mu limit, or you are getting a section where the depth of the section is restricted, that is due to the aesthetical or due to the architectural concepts, the depth of the section you cannot exceed after a particular limit. So before, what you did for a singular reinforced section was, if the depth of the section was less than d minimum, depth of the section was less than d minimum, then what you do, the section will be an under reinforced section, and the section will be an over reinforced section, and you will redesign it by increasing the depth of the section such that you will get an under reinforced section. Suppose your architect or your client says that he wants a section whose depth should not be much greater than at that particular area, because the headroom height will definitely decrease if the depth of the beam is very much high. There will be a small projection downwards from the slab, which means the headroom will be reduced. As a result, the client or the architect says that you cannot increase the depth up to that limit. So what you do there is, you cannot increase the depth of the section. Such cases will go for a doubly reinforced section. mu is very much greater than mu limit, and when the depth is restricted, we will go for a doubly reinforced section. So I could say here that the maximum moment of resistance of a singular reinforced section will be what? It will be mu limit. So for a beam where mu greater than mu limit, two alternatives are possible. First one is what we have seen in the last classes, that is increasing the depth of this section, that is redesigning by increasing the depth of the section. Or the second one is by providing a doubly reinforced section, that is we will provide a compression reinforcement. We will provide the reinforcement in the compression side. Such a section is called as a doubly reinforced section. So I could summarize it as, that is, I can say the maximum moment of resistance of a singly reinforced section is mu limit. So for a beam where mu greater than mu limit, two alternatives are possible. That is, first, either redesign the section by increasing the depth of the section. In such cases where it is possible, if the depth of the section cannot be increased at certain position, then what we go for is we will provide the compression reinforcement. That is, we will design it as a doubly reinforced rectangular section or doubly reinforced section. So I can say, I can summarize it, in many cases the maximum depth of the section will be restricted from the architectural or other consideration. In that case, the only alternative is to provide reinforcement in the compression side. Such a section is called as a doubly reinforced section. That is, in many cases the maximum depth of the section will be restricted from the architectural or other consideration. In that case, the only alternative is to provide reinforcement in the compression side. Such a section is called as a doubly reinforced section. So in the next few classes we will be dealing with the analysis and design of a doubly reinforced section. So if I draw here, the depth of the section is restricted. Suppose the depth of this section is restricted, or I will say that mu is greater than mu limit. So I am having a section here, my mu is greater than mu limit. So what I do is, I will be writing like mu is equal to mu limit plus some mu2, where this mu2 will be the additional moment which is being produced by the, or the additional moment of resistance which is being offered by this section. Suppose this mu limit will provide up to your, or this will be the moment of resistance will be provided by AST limit. So I am assuming this 3 reinforcing bar will produce AST limit, that is this much moment of resistance will be provided by these 3 bars, and the additional mu2, this mu2 moment has to be provided by some other bar, and that is being provided by, I'll denote this as AST2 along with AST2 and some compression reinforcement at the compression side. That is, I'll denote this by ASC. That is, this mu2 will be produced by this reinforcement AST2 or ASC. The ASC is we are providing in the compression side, and the additional moment created by this is produced by AST2 or ASC. That is, I could write mu is equal to mu limit, that is produced by the your balance section or limiting section, plus the additional moment which is produced by your AST2, that is your mu2. Here this distance we are taking as d dash, and this distance is d, that is your effective depth, and the total depth I will mark it as capital D, and width of the beam as small b. So if I draw the strain variation, I could draw it. I'll get the strain variation as a linear value with epsilon c, that is epsilon c, that the strain at the compression as 0.0035, and I will denote the strain at the level of my compression reinforcement as epsilon SC, and this distance is marked as d dash, that is the effective depth at the compression side, and this is the strain corresponding to your tension reinforcement epsilon S. So this depth will be marked as your depth of your neutral axis, that is XU. So if I draw the stress variation, I will be having the tension at the bottom T, I will denote it by T, and the maximum compressive stress I will get it as 0.446 FCK at the maximum compression fiber, my extreme fiber, and I'll denote the compressive force due to the concrete alone as C1. I'll be denoting this as C1, and this is acting at a distance of 0.42 XU, which we have discussed last time for a single reinforced section. So I'll denote this value, I'll denote as C1 acting at a distance of 0.42 XU, and you have the new compressive force taken care by your ASC, that is your area of compression steel. So that will be acting at this point. So I'll denote this as C2, and this is distance at a distance of d dash. So your net compressive force now will be some C, where C is equal to C1 plus C2. The net compressive force, or the total compressive force, will be some C, that will be C1 plus C2 acting at some distance. We need to find out that distance, that is the centroid of these two forces will give you the action of C. So now I'll split this section into two, that is the first one is having L section having mu limit, and the second section having mu2. So if I am drawing it separately, I am having one section which is having AST limit. So I can write mu limit is equal to, in this section I can write mu limit is equal to 0.87 Fy AST limit into T minus 0.42 XU max or XU limit, or in terms of concrete, if I am writing, I could write it as mu limit is equal to Q FCK BD square. So from here you will get the value for mu limit or corresponding value for AST limit. So the second section, that is, I could write that this is corresponding to mu limit, that is, so this section, this whole section, I could divide it into two, that is mu lit plus mu2, where mu limit section is corresponding to this, and mu2 I will get it as, so I will get this section as mu2, where I could write mu2 is equal to, if I am writing in terms of tension, I will get it as 0.87 Fy AST2 into the lever arm here is the distance between your compressive force and tensile force. So if I am drawing the stress variation, I will get it as, your tensile force is acting here T, denoting as T2, and your compressive force C2 is acting at a distance of D dash, and the tensile force is acting at a distance of D, that is your effective depth from the top. So I'll get the lever arm here as this distance, that is from here to here, that is I'll get it as D minus D dash is my lever arm. So I can write mu is equal to 0.87 Fy AST2 into the lever arm. Here the lever arm is D minus D dash. Now if I'm writing in terms of compression, I could write it as C2 into, C2 is the compressive force into lever arm, that is T minus D dash. We will learn about this C2 in detail when you are doing the detailed analysis of a doubly reinforced section. So that is, I could write mu2 as 0.87 Fy AST2 into D minus D dash, that is your lever arm, or the compressive force in terms of compression. If I'm writing, that is the compressive force into D minus D dash. So here the lever arm is D minus D dash. So I could summarize it as the moment of resistance of a doubly reinforced beam is equal to the mu limit for a singly reinforced section plus the additional moment of resistance, that is mu2. That is, I could say the moment of resistance of a doubly reinforced section, that is the moment of resistance of a doubly reinforced section, is equal to mu limit of a singly reinforced section, barred section, plus the additional moment of resistance due to mu2. That is, mu is equal to mu limit plus mu2, which means I'll get mu2 is equal to mu minus mu limit. Now for mu limit, the tension reinforcement, that is AST limit, can be found out. The additional moment of resistance mu2 is offered by the additional tension steel AST2 and the compression steel AC, isn't it? That is, the additional moment of resistance which is offered by this mu2 is given by the reinforcing tension steel, that is AST2, which is denoted here. This is denoted AST2, and the additional compression steel, that is ASC. Now we will consider that the compression reinforcement is provided at the depth of D dash from the extreme compression fiber. So that I can write the lever arm for mu2 is equal to D minus D dash. So considering the tension steel over here, I could write mu2 is equal to 0.87 Fy AST2 into D minus D dash. Now considering the compression steel, I could write mu2 is equal to C2 into D minus D dash. But C2 here I could write it as C2 is what? FSC into ASC. That is, FSC is the allowable stress in steel under compression, and ASC is the area of steel under compression. That is, here there is some area of steel, and the stress corresponding to that steel into area of steel will give you the compression at this level, minus there is being some area of concrete deducted from here. That is, if I am taking the area stress at this level of the concrete as FCC, and area of concrete as is similar to what the area of steel, that is, I'll take it as ASC. That is, I could write it as, if I could write it as like that, then I can say mu2 is equal to FSC into ASC. Here FSC is the allowable stress in steel under the compression fiber, that is the stress under compression, that is allowable stress under compression into area of compressing steel, minus FCC, that is the compressive stress of concrete at the level of the compression steel. So here I am having FSC, that is the allowable stress in steel under compression, into area of steel, that is ASC, minus the deducted area of concrete, that is, I'll take it as FCC, that is the compressive stress of concrete at the level of compression steel, into the same area has been deducted, that is, I could write it as ASC, that is, I will write it as FCC into ASC, that is your compressive force, into D minus D dash, that is your lever, which will give you the mu2 corresponding to your steel. That is, rearranging it, I could write it as, this is FSC minus FCC into ASC into D minus D dash, where FSC is the allowable stress in steel under compression from the stress strain curve. I'll explain this in detail. FCC is the compressive stress of concrete at the level of compression steel. So here, if I am equating C2 and T2, that is equating C2 and T2, I could write here C2 is ASC into FSC minus FCC, that is equal to 0.87 Fy AST2. When compared to FSC, the value for FCC is very small. that is FCC is 0.446 FCK to its maximum value, that is 0.446 FCK. So compared to that, FCC is very small. So if we are neglecting the value for FCC, I will get, that is the maximum value for FCC, I could get it as 0.446 FCK. So I could write it as neglecting this value, I could write as 10. The C2 I could write it as ASC into FSC, which is equal to 0.87 FY into AST2. That is the compressive force and tensile force. If I am equating, I get it as like this. That is, this is your C2 and this is your T2. Now you need to get the value for FSC. So the strain in the reinforcement are to be derived from the corresponding stress strain curve for the type of steel used, according to the value of strain at the location of the compression steel. I have my strain variation like this. This value corresponds to your epsilon SC. This is 0.0035. This is XU. If it is mild steel, you get this value as 0.87 Fy by ES, and if it is HYSD bar, you get it as 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by ES. That is your for your HYSD bars. That is the minimum strain at the time of failure. So considering this as equal to, that is, this will be a limiting section. That is, at the time of failure, it will be 0.87 Fy by ES for mild steel and 0.002 plus 0.87 Fy by ES for HYSD bars. This, from similarity of triangles, I could write epsilon SC divided by XU minus D dash. This is D dash. I could write epsilon SC divided by that is, I will get it as epsilon SC is equal to 0.0035 by XU into XU minus D dash. That is, I can write this one as XU minus D dash divided by XU into 0.0035. So this is the strain at the level of compression steel. So corresponding to your stress strain curve, you will need to find the value for FSC. That is, you need to find the value for FSC from the stress strain curve corresponding to this value of strain. So for mild steel, you have the stress strain curve like this. So if I am idealizing it, I will get the lower yield point as my Fy. This is my idealized stress strain curve. This is your Fy. And applying a factor of safety, I will get it as, this is your 0.87 Fy. So with the strain, corresponding strain epsilon SC is this one, epsilon SC is this. So this value of strain is 0.00108. So for a strain value greater than 0.00108, I could say whatever be the strain value, the strain value is greater than 0.00108, then the FSC value is 0.87 Fy. Because after this 0.00108 strain, the value for FSC doesn't change, it is always constant. So I could say that after this strain of 0.00108, the FSC value is 0.87 Fy for mild steel. Now if we take the case for your HYSD bars, it doesn't have a particular yield point, so the stress diagram will be like this. The stress strain diagram will be like this. Here this is stress and here this is strain, and as per IS 456 you'll assume the proof stress 0.002 strain here. After this is a straight line, then this is your Fy, and corresponding you will get your design stress curve, that is 0.87 Fy. So we need to get the value for strain by this method. You need to get the value for the strain corresponding to the level of steel, and from there you need to, from the stress strain curve you will get the value for your stress. So here you will see your SP16 has provided this stress strain curve for HYSD bars or cold form deformed bars. you'll get it like this. From your SP16 you'll get a curve like this, that is the stress strain curve for cold work steel, that is HOSD bar. You have the strain corresponding to here and stress corresponding in Newton per mm square for your Fe500 for Fe415 grade steel. So what you require here is the corresponding strain value you'll obtain by this equation. This equation you'll get the strain value, that is epsilon SC value you'll get from this equation, and plotting that you'll suppose you are getting it as 0.0031, which is 0.0031 is this one. So if you are going up like this, going like that, like this, you'll get the design curve, that is for Fe415 you are getting the design curve like this, that is your stress level is this one. So plotting towards the left you'll get the stress corresponding to that value of strain as 350 Newton per mm square. So similarly you'll get the value for epsilon SC, go in this way, touch your stress strain curve, you will get the value corresponding to your stress at the level of compression steel. That is, you'll get the value, suppose your epsilon FC, epsilon SC is this one, epsilon SC is this one. So from here you'll plot it and go like this, and you'll go in this way. This is your corresponding value for FSC. That is, you'll go from here, if suppose this is here, you'll go up to here like this, go like this, and from here this way you'll get the value for your corresponding FSC. So this is how you'll get the corresponding value for FSC. So I hope you have understood the concept for a doubly reinforced section. So from the next class onwards you'll see how to design a doubly reinforced section. So thank you and have a nice day.